Welcome to the 10th anniversary of the Great American Rivalry Series, presented by iHigh Sports, the leader in youth sports broadcasting nationwide. High school football at its best. The Great American Rivalry Series is brought to you by the United States Marines, the few, the proud. By iHelp Student Loans, investing in the education of America. By Hibbett Sports, game tested, and by iHigh Sports.
A stop on its 10th anniversary tour in picturesque Cumberland, Maryland. Robert Williamson along with Rick Walford as we get set for Fort Hill and Allegany. Rick, this is another one of those intriguing matchups, maybe even more so where this ball game is concerned because it's homecoming unusually for both teams.
Yes, it is, and it's a great time here in Cumberland for both schools. I tell you, it starts at the beginning of the week with both schools decorate their schools. They pick what they want to do, and they decorate them up nice. And then the day before the game, they have a pep rally, which brings everybody together. And then the big day on Saturday, you know, you have husbands and wives. You have husbands might be sitting on the Allegany side and the wives on the Fort Hill side, and vice versa. All the pageantry here at Cumberland, I tell you what, it's just a great time for the whole city.
As a matter of fact, the drive through the neighborhood to the stadium, you've got people tailgating early in the morning on Saturday preparing for the big game at 12:30.
Yeah, and they come in early. They come in maybe midweek, Thursday, maybe Friday, and then they meet up here early. They get out there, they tailgate, and they have a great time.
A lot of history where this ball game is concerned. Allegany, 8 state titles. You've got the possibility, should they win today, Fort Hill going unbeaten for a 15th regular season. So there's much on the line beside just the fact they played one another since 1936.
Yes, sir, and since they changed the rankings, Fort Hill and Allegany have played back-to-back many times. So a team might win the homecoming game and turn around and lose in the playoff game, and vice versa. So over the years, it's been a great time. It's been a great game. There's been some nail biters, and there's been not so much nail biters. So looking forward to a great game today. Fort Hill's coming in undefeated. Allegany at 5-4, but you never know. You cannot predict this game.
Well, last year, an example of that. You had a game that was supposed to be a mismatch that wasn't a mismatch.
Yeah, it wasn't a mismatch. It turned out to be a one-point ball game. And then right the following week, they played again, and it was a one-point ball game again. So, again, you cannot predict this game. People get really revved up for this ball game.
Sentinels taking on the Campers, the Great American Rivalry Series here in Maryland as we get set for Fort Hill and Allegany. We'll be back in a moment, but first this break. You're listening and watching the 10th anniversary of the Great American Rivalry Series, brought to you by the United States Marines.
There are a few who move toward the sounds of tyranny, injustice, and despair. They are the few, the proud, the Marines.
As we get set for football, Fort Hill taking on Allegany, the 10th anniversary of the Great American Rivalry Series. It is prepared for the end of the regular season, but it's not the end of the regular season for at least one team, that being Fort Hill. They've got some postseason in their future. If Allegany comes away with a win today, they've got playoff ramifications as well. While we have a moment before we get to the opening coin toss and the kickoff, let's send it down to the sidelines where Rick Ford has some very special guests. Rick?
Well, we do, Robert. We have two very special guests. I feel so protected down here. I'm ready to take on anybody. I'm down here with two sergeants from the Marines. I'm going to let them introduce themselves and tell you where they're from, and then I'm going to ask them a couple of questions about being a Marine and being part of this.
My name is Sergeant Cook. I'm from Fairfax, Virginia.
Fairfax, Virginia, and
My name is Lance Corporal Monteleone. I'm from Cumberland, Maryland, right here.
well, there you go. You got a little homegrown talent. I did it that way because I was afraid I would misstate his last name. But, guys, you're here on a beautiful day, but you're here at one of the biggest games in this part of the state, and certainly maybe in this part of the country. What's it like for you guys as Marines to be involved in things like this?
It's great. It's great for us to get out there and be a part of the community. A rivalry such as this one, Fort Hill and Allegany. I've been in a lot of places, and this is one of the biggest ones that I've seen, so it's a great experience.
Well, you know, one of the things that we like the way it matches up is that the Marines are a team, one of the biggest and the best teams, and you speak to the warrior ethos and the way you guys do your job. There's some similarities between that and a football team, isn't there?
Yeah, there absolutely are. You can't win anything if you don't work together as a team, especially with so many variables at play. We have to come together to accomplish our missions. They have to come together to win the game. You can't win it by yourself.
Well, we want to say thank you to both of you. The United States Marines, as you know, Robert, are our sponsors of this game. They're the ones that make it all possible, so we say thank you to them for that. But in a larger sense, thank you for everything you do for our country. And I'm throwing it back to you, Robert.
All right, thank you very much, Rick. And indeed, we say thanks to the United States Marines. These guys and these ladies do a tremendous job, not only in protecting this country and making it a safe place for you and I to live, but, Rick, we get an opportunity to call some football because of those Marine Corps members, and they also sponsor coverage. So our hats off to the Marines for all they do. Well, it is Allegany taking on Fort Hill. Coin toss is at the mid part of the field. If you are Fort Hill and you win the coin toss, which do you want? And if you're Allegany, the same.
Both teams have a tendency in years past to, if they win the coin toss, to defer to the second half. So we'll see what they do here.
Coin toss by the officials. Of course, you've got the captains for both the Campers and the Sentinels there at the mid part of the field. If you are watching, you're looking at a gorgeous field that is artificial turf, kind of unusual for a high school.
Yes, sir. Artificial turf, put in 1997. Had to tweak it a little bit the first couple years, but I tell you, this is one of the most beautiful stadiums and backdrops of anywhere in the state of Maryland.
Fort Hill getting to receive the football, but you are right. The coin toss actually won by the Campers, and they have opted to defer to the second half. Now, when you're looking at the likes, though, of a Dakari Dar, who is just a phenomenal talent packaged in a very small package, do you really want him on the field first?
Well, I think Allegany, they do that for two reasons. They're going to try to set the tone defensively, and they want the ball coming out at halftime. A lot of times, coming out at halftime, the first drive in the second half in a game like this could be the most important drive of the game.
What kind of ball game do you look for? Give us the keys to winning if you're the Campers, and the keys to winning if you're the Sentinels.
If you're the Allegany Campers, you need to come out and hit Fort Hill square in the jaw the first time out. I think if Allegany can pop them a good one first and then play a controlled ball game, I think they can win this ball game. On the other hand, Fort Hill, they have a lot of speed, a lot of talent. I think they need to come out. Do not turn the ball over. The thing that has bit Fort Hill all year long, even though they're undefeated, is turning the ball over. So if they don't turn the ball over and they can get the big plays, I think they can win. So it should be a great ball game.
If you're a guy from way down in the southern part of the United States, you're thinking this is pretty rough weather, but this is actually gorgeous weather in Maryland for this time of year.
Yes, it is. Beautiful weather today. Last year it was almost 80 degrees today, and on the homecoming day. So this today, to me, is seasonal weather, beautiful weather, sunny out. I tell you, it's just a beautiful day here at Greenway Avenue Stadium.
Had a little bit of a breeze yesterday and the day prior. Today, though, that breeze has died off, so really shouldn't have that much of an impact on a passing game.
No, it won't. The only impact I see the wind having today is Allegany has an exceptional place kicker, and I think Nathan Condor, number 17, he's also the starting goalie for the Allegany Campers playoff soccer team. So I think that if they get in a position, that might be the key to the game. He might be able to pop a long one.
Allegany teeing up at the 40-yard line. Meanwhile, back deep to receive, you have got Ty Johnson. He's standing around the 9-yard line on the near hash mark. On the far hash mark is Dakari Dar. So a couple of exciting youngsters back to receive, Johnson and Dar, as it is teed up, and this one gets underway from Cumberland, Maryland. The approach and the kick. Bit of a squib kick. It'll be picked up by Johnson to the 12-yard line. Brings it to the 20. 30, finds a seam. 40, got running room. 40-yard line. 30, 20, one to beat the kicker. He won't. It is a 90-yard kickoff return, 88 to be precise, and Johnson immediately puts Fort Hill on the board.
Exactly what I said Alleghany needed to do. Fort Hill just did to Alleghany. Fort Hill line that kickoff return. Those upper guys come up there, put big hit on the front line of Alleghany, and they could not recover.
Ty Johnson, 88-yard kickoff return. The team that lost the coin toss did not want the football to begin with. They got it. They go 88 yards, and Johnson has quickly made it a 6-0 ball game. Well, we are standing on the deck with a radio station in one corner. We're on the other, and we've got coaches from Alleghany, and they're not particularly happy with what just transpired.
No, they're not happy at all. And I spent a lot of time in the radio booth with the coaches this year, and believe me, when they're not happy, you'll know it.
Left-footed kick, through the uprights for Chris King. And with 11:47 left to play here in the first half, it is a 7-0 advantage. 13 seconds into the ballgame, the team that's trying to keep their record unblemished has got 6 on the board plus the King kick.
Yeah, that was a great return for Fort Hill. We could see it set up very well from up here. The blockers from Fort Hill did what they had to do. They came up there, they knocked Alleghany a good shot, and nobody touched him. The last person had a chance was Nathan Condor, the kicker, and earlier in this season, he has made some key tackles on kick returns. The special teams might be a little iffy here for the Alleghany Campers today.
Well, Alleghany will try to do the same as they send their return guys. Darian Lopez back deep to receive. He stands at the 5-yard line, and King will tee it up at the 40-yard line. Did not take long to get some excitement on this Saturday afternoon. Homecoming game for both teams. We talked about it in pregame. So regardless, year in, year out, somebody loses their homecoming.
Somebody loses the homecoming, and then they roll into the playoff series. And many, many times they've played back-to-back. Happens here today.
King's got it teed up at the 40, and we're ready for the ensuing the 88-yard kickoff return for a touchdown to begin this one for Fort Hill. The approach, and King sending it in the direction of Lopez. Lopez tripped up at the 28.
Alleghany runs a wing T offense. Their quarterback will be Trenton Eric. He's a senior. Fullback will be Kirk Robinette. Halfback Darian Lopez, a senior, and Dalton Galladay on the right, a senior. Alleghany has a senior packed team this year.
So we will see how Alleghany performs after having a stick of dynamite stuck in their line of scrimmage after Johnson took it 88 yards. You got to have a flag on that one. Well, Darian Lopez got a little anxious in putting his block in place to spring it to this side. Of course, the handoff was given to Kirk Robinette, but before Robinette ever had an opportunity, Lopez was offsides.
Lopez was offsides, and I tell you, that's something new Allegany's trying to do. That's something, and when you have two teams that play at this stadium, 75% of the time, and both coaches can watch them, they know exactly what they're going to do. So Alleghany was just trying something different there.
Trenton Eric at quarterback. He's got a split wide to the left side. That is Galladay, and Galladay, the guy in motion. Handoff will go up the middle. It is Robinette again on the carry. This time Robinette crossing the 25 to near the 26-yard line.
The offensive line for Alleghany, Jordan Shook be at the tight end, Cameron Schaefer at the left tackle, Hunter Wilhelm, the sophomore, starting for Alleghany at the left guard, Dane Whiteman, the senior, at center, Ben Savage at right guard, Brett Fusey at tackle, and Wade McGee will be at the tight end.
Trenton Eric at quarterback. Second down, we'll call it 11 football at the 26-yard line. Again, Robinette this time tries the opposite side. He is brought to the 32-yard line.
The senior middle linebacker, and then Trenton backer for the Sentinels did a great job when covering a pass that time.
Incomplete pass brings up a fourth down, a punting situation, and this not the start that Alleghany had hoped for.
The Alleghany needs to punt the ball here, get good coverage, Fort Hill's really got things on their side so far today.
Back to the 28-yard line. The grab by Devin Shreve, and Shreve able to pound his way forward to the 35, where it will be first down and 10, and we'll have our first opportunity to take a look at the Fort Hill offense.
Starting on the offense for Fort Hill at tight end, Devin Shreve. At left tackle, Preston Bryant. Richard Lloyd at left guard. The center, Mike Wright. The right guard, Brennan Carlin. The right tackle, Josh Roberts, and Ryan Shives will be at the other end.
First down and 10, 7-zip score, 10-13 to play in the first. Gorgeous backdrop on a November afternoon here in Cumberland, Maryland. And immediately Squires to go upstairs, looks, fires, got a target open at the last moment. A reach and an excellent one by the DB.
That was Jordan Shook for the Campers knocking the ball away. Nice pass that time by Squires. He laid it right where he needed to lay it, and at the last second was batted away. But I tell you, and he had plenty of time to throw the ball also.
What about the mindset of Fort Hill, which is, hey, let's just go ahead and drive the nail in the coffin now.
Yeah, that's exactly what they're thinking, and that's what wins ball games, especially a big game like this.
I formation for Squires and company. Handoff given to the tailback. That is Ty Johnson, who had that 88-yard kickoff return moments ago. Picks up maybe a yard. Third down, 9 coming up.
Good job by the Alleghany defense that time, holding them to only 1 yard. It looks like Allegany's playing their patented 4-4 defense here today. Alleghany has a very good linebacking core. Dylan Shockey and Kirk Robinette at the inside linebackers.
Dar and Johnson in the backfield behind quarterback Squires. Lone receiver to this side is in motion. Goes Johnson, handoff on the misdirection, and the pickup by Alex Barnes is across the 40 to the 42. He needed 9 and got 6.
Nice play that time by Dylan Shockey. Fort Hill all year long, whenever they go in motion towards the wingback, it's 99% of the time going to be a quick pitch for a sweep, and that time Alleghany picked it up.
Darian Lopez drifts back to receive, also Dalton Galladay. Punting situation for Fort Hill on a 4th down and 3. Alleghany trying to get the football back. It is a wobbly, off-balance kick that does take a bit of a Fort Hill roll down inside the 35 to the 33-yard line. And all in all, if you're Alleghany, after the kickoff return that started things, you're down by 7, 13 seconds into the ball game. You commit the offsides on the very first play from scrimmage. All in all, you've got to be satisfied that you've got the football back after an offensive series by Fort Hill.
Yeah, Coach Prescott has to be happy with that series on defense. Tim Foley come in. I'm sure he has a very good defensive game plan. He did what he needed to do. They shut down Fort Hill. Let's see what they can do in offense.
First down and 10, football at the 34. Lopez comes wide right for Trenton Eric. And it looks like the flea flicker is Robinette.
He's open.
Back pass, and he's got a guy wide open. Lopez makes the grab at the 28, down to the 22-yard line. Well, by the time Fort Hill knew what hit him, Lopez was 10 yards beyond the DBs.
Kirk Robinette got the pitch. He went to his right, our left. He laid it up there, and Lopez was wide open. Devin Shreve saved the day for the Fort Hill Sentinels that time, making the stop.
First down and 10, football on the 22-yard line, couple of yards outside of the red zone, and Alleghany all of a sudden about to say, you know, that 88-yard kickoff return, it did naddle us. We're going to get right back into the ball game as Eric brings his troops to the line of scrimmage, which is the 22. And off to Galladay, and Galladay inside the red zone to the 19.
Big hit that time by Cody Arago on the defensive line there for Fort Hill. Cody, the last 2 years, has done a great job for the Sentinels.
3-yard gain, second down, 7. Football at the 19-yard line. Alleghany trying to get on the board. After the big play, the halfback pass as Robinson found Lopez. Eric sending Galladay in motion. Handoff to Robinette. And he's got a pair of yards to the 16.
There's a flag down. I think we have a Mabel. Arago and Shives on the stop for the Sentinels.
And it is illegal procedure charge to the Campers.
That's a drive killer right there. You don't usually see too many penalties in these ball games because they've it's game 10 and they've practiced and practiced and practiced, and usually when they come to this homecoming game, they're on top of their game. So I don't look for too many penalties.
Rivalry series led by Fort Hill, 51-32-4. Series dating back to 1936. After the 5-yard mark off, it is 2nd down and 12. Eric on the end around. He's got the first with a dive, more than likely. We'll wait on the spot, but I think he's got it.
The first play they tried to run down here with Lopez when he cut back on that defensive end, that time he did not jump off sides, and he cleaned that defensive end's cloth. That opened up the quarterback on the right-hand side. 3rd down and short for the Campers.
Well, it looked like the dive got him the first, but the spot was not quite as favorable as the dive. And it brings up a 3rd down and short. And you got to believe here, though, it's 4-down territory. If you don't make it on 3rd, you go for it on 4th?
Oh, yeah, this is 4-down territory, especially in a homecoming game.
Got that big back Robinette in the backfield behind Eric. Let's see if Eric just tries to take the snap and pick it up on his own. No, instead Robinette. And Robinette pounds his way inside the 10. Absolutely no doubt about the fact he's got the first.
Trenton Swan from Fort Hill was in the hole. He hit him hard. Robinette kept digging his feet for the first down. Alleghany right now, they have the momentum. Fort Hill needs to really buck it up here and try to stop them inside the 10-yard line. Fort Hill's sitting in a 6-man front down here inside the goal. They were in a 5-man front earlier, so they have their goal line defense in there right now.
First down and goal, football at the 9. Lopez in motion. Eric on the carry. It got big yardage previously and gets a touchdown this time.
Again, big block by Lopez. The same play they got for 11 yards earlier. They put it in the end zone. Lopez goes in motion, cuts down on the defensive end, and the quarterback walks in the end zone.
Got a brand new ball game. 10:47 to play in the first. It was 7-0, and the lead belonged to Fort Hill. We are an extra point try away from this one being tied at 7 with 6:17 left to play in quarter number 1.
The senior, Nathan Condor. Bad snap. Could not get the ball down.
And Condor's kick is an errant one. 7-6 the score. 6:17 left to play. Quarter number 1. Let's take a break. We're back after this.
There are a few who move toward the sounds of chaos. Forged in the crucible of training, they are the first to move toward the sounds of tyranny, injustice, and despair. They are the few, the proud, the Marines.
Johnson at the 13-yard line. He's the guy that returned to kick 88 yards for a touchdown the last time he returned the Condor kick. 6:17 left to play in the first. Here is a squib kick. And it took a bit of a high hop grab to the 33-yard line. Out to the 37-yard line goes Ryan Smith.
I think Ryan liked that. Right? He probably doesn't get to run the ball back too much, and the ball came to him there. He said, I'll take advantage of this. Nice play by Ryan Smith that time.
Had a little bit of a high hop that almost looked like one of those onside kicks that sometimes winds up in the hands of the kicking team.
I agree. And I don't really think it was intent to be an onside kick, just something to mess with Fort Hill.
And to keep it away from Ty Johnson.
Yeah, keep it away from Ty.
First down to 10 at the 37-yard line. Dar getting his first carry of the night, and there's already in just a 6-yard carry an indication of why this guy's so exciting to watch.
Very exciting young man. What would they say before the game? Leg press, 1,600 pounds. Blew the record away at Fort Hill. Very strong young man. He does a great job. Of course, because of his stature, he runs low to the ground, which you always want to do anyway. and look for big things from Dakar today.
Football of the 43 after the 6-yard gain by Dar. Dar again on the carry. Nothing inside, trying to bounce it outside. But there was a little problem, and that problem was Darian Lopez, who reached in and brought him down behind the line of scrimmage.
Darian Lopez coming off his corner position on defense on a blitz. Blew it up. Great play that time by Lopez.
Greenway Avenue Stadium, site of this rivalry matchup. Winner of the game gets the Black Kettle. You might have to give us a little history on the Black Kettle before this coverage is over.
The Black Kettle, very important to the city of Cumberland.
Loss of 3 on the Dar carry. Fake to Dar, quarterback keeper by Squires, gets to the 45, but that won't be enough for the first.
There was a mix-up there. He turned around and handed the ball off, and the back wasn't there. Everybody was going to the right, and the quarterback was going to the left. So Allegheny did what they needed to do. They stuffed him, and they're going to get the ball back.
Darian Lopez, as well as Dalton Galladay, back to receive.
There was talk before the game about, what did you think was going to happen? And I said, do not back an angry dog into a corner because they're going to come out biting. And that's what Allegany's done today.
Darren Warner's kick picked up by Lopez at the 25, and he steps out of the 35. That's where this offensive series will begin for Alleghany.
And mark my word, that 1 point miss down here on the extra point will play a part in the final of this ball game.
Last year, 1 point the difference.
That's right.
Campers with a first down and 10 at the 35-yard line. 4:25 left to play in period number 1. 7-6 score. Sentinels with the advantage. But really, when you take away the momentum they certainly had, the enthusiasm that came with the 88-yard kick return, stat-wise, it's been all Alleghany.
All Alleghany so far. Fort Hill needs to establish a good defensive series right here.
Hand off to Robinette, and he pounds his way to the 39.
Good blocking that time by the left-hand side of the Alleghany line. Cameron Schaefer and the sophomore Hunter Wilhelm over there making a nice hole for the Campers.
4:08 left to play in the period. Gain of 4, 2nd and 6. Football just shy of the 39. And it is safe to say that the Butterflies are all taken care of now, and they're playing football.
Butterflies are all gone.
Lopez and pitch back to Robinette. And Robinette tried to cut it back up inside, dropped at the line of scrimmage. No gain, 3rd and long.
See, Fort Hill's caught on to that now. So as soon as Lopez comes in motion, the defensive end's jumping outside. And that time he had to block the inside linebacker, and the defensive end made the stop. So good coaching by the Fort Hill Sentinels. They picked that up early. And now if Alleghany is going to have to do something else to try to work on that end.
3rd down 5, football at the 40. Lopez split wide right. Eric passes complete to Lopez for the first. Lopez got just to the marker, enough to get the first. Picks the pass from Eric, and then he is out of bounds, but does have the first, and the sticks move.
Darian Lopez is another young man that is not big. He's not very tall, but he's got the heart of a lion, and all year long he's proven it. He's made big plays on kick returns. He's made big plays on offense and defense. So today it's his time to shine also for the Alleghany Campers.
Smart play for the 5'10", 147-pound senior. Found the first down yardage, got there, then took the pass from Eric. Handoff goes to Robinette. Robinette across midfield, inside Sentinel territory to the 49.
Nice job that time by the Alleghany Campers front line, bringing up a 2nd and 6. It looks like Fort Hill sitting in that 6-man front with the 2 linebackers. They were more effective, I thought, with the 5-man front with the 3 linebackers.
Gain of 4, 2nd down 6, football to the 49. Another trip into Fort Hill territory for Alleghany. Previous trip into Sentinel territory resulted in 6. It is a 7-6 ball game with 2:25 left to play in the period. Eric on the keeper to the side. It's been a productive play, and it picks up about what he needed to pick up the first. Stepped out of bounds at the 46. Looked like he had the first, but actually had stepped out of the 46-yard line.
Great tackle that time by Todd Johnson. He shredded the blocker. He came up there and made the stop. Also, Trenton Swanning on the stop for the Sentinels. I tell you, Fort Hill all year long, their defense has really stood out. They made some big late game stops. So they are very familiar with having to stop a team when it gets important.
3rd down and 3. Football at the 46. Galladay, the wide out to the opposite side for Eric if he thinks about going upstairs. Instead, the pitch to Robinette, and he is dropped behind the line of scrimmage. Immediately, Cody Dolly wrapped him up, but there is a flag on the far sidelines.
Nice play by Dolly that time. As soon as he went in motion, Dolly stepped up in the hole and blitzed. He knew what was coming. See, that's what Allegany's going to have to do now. Allegany's going to have to stop that motion because as soon as Lopez goes in motion, now they're blitzing the backside linebacker, and it just blew that play up right there.
Brings up a 4th down in a punting scenario. Johnson will drift back to receive. Also, Devin Shreve.
Nathan Condor, again, not only doing the place kicking, but the punting for the Campers.
And Condor stands back at his 37-yard line. Clock ticking down, nearing the 2-minute mark in the first.
Bad
floating
snap.
If Fort Hill's got a rush on, then they're getting to the punter.
Nice punt that time by Condor. Put it out. Yeah, there was no rush at all. Any rush, like you said, exactly what you said, any rush at all, they would have had that ball.
But instead, no rush whatsoever, and it rolls out at the 6-yard line. It's almost as if after that kickoff return by Fort Hill, Allegheny can do little wrong.
Yeah, in a game like this, momentum, once a team believes that they can win, once a team believes that they can do something, they're going to do it. And right now, the Allegheny Campers believe. Fort Hill needs to put together a nice long drive here.
14 unbeaten years in the school's history for Fort Hill, going for their 15th. Those 14, by the way, in 2011 set the state record in Maryland. Darn loses the football. It's still loose. Campers get it.
Big play that time. Allegheny Camper football inside the 10-yard line. That time it was Dakari Dar took the handoff, and I don't know if he didn't get it all the way or not, but the ball was on the ground before anybody knew it. Big play.
And with the Dar loss of the football, Allegany's knocking on the door very quickly at the 8-yard line where it is 1st down and goal.
Well, here we're going to see what Allegany's made of offensively because Fort Hill has their jumbo defensive package in there.
1st down and goal at the 8-yard line. Robinette in the backfield. Robinette gets the carry. Robinette to the 6. Looked like he lost it momentarily, but was able to get it back.
Big play that time by number 12, Rashawn Shives for the Sentinels. He met Robinette right at the line of scrimmage and dropped him. Big play that time by Shives.
2nd down and goal from the 6-yard line.
Rashawn Shives and his brother Ryan Shives, both seniors here on the Sentinel Ball Club, both very good ball players.
Squires on the quarterback keeper, brings it up the middle, brings it to the 4 where it will be 3rd and goal.
The senior, Trenton Eric, that time must have seen something. I don't think that was the play call. He must have seen something there and called his own number.
Eric, by the way, on the carry. Squires is the guy that does the QBing for the other guy, or the other team. And Eric looking at a 3rd down and goal.
These are two very well-coached ball clubs here today.
It will set up an interesting 4th down scenario if they don't bring it into the end zone here. Eric around the end, into the end zone, touchdown.
Same play they ran on the last touchdown. Lopez goes in motion, he comes down on the end, but that time Allegheny pulled the guard out, took care of the linebacker, and the quarterback went in for the touchdown. That's just good coaching right there.
And it was all set up by the Dar fumble at the 8-yard line. 4 yards out. Eric punches it in, and Allegany's got their first lead of the ball game. 37 seconds remaining in the first stanza.
It's a chess game. It's a chess game. Each coaching staff are making adjustments on the fly. Great job that time by Allegheny.
Galladay, the receiver to the opposite side, is Allegheny will go for the 2, trying to make up for the miss by Condor after the first touchdown. It is picked off. And the two-point conversion no good. Eric sticking it into the hands of Alex Barnes.
Great job that time by Barnes. He followed the quarterback. I think the quarterback took a little bit too long to throw the ball. He had a man wide open in the back of the end zone.
32 left in the first. Let's take a timeout. 12-7. Allegany's got the advantage. The Great American Rivalry Series. It's brought to you by the United States Marines.
There are a few who move toward the sounds of chaos. Forged in the crucible of training, they are the first to move toward the sounds of tyranny, injustice, and despair. They are the few, the proud, the Marines. There are a few who move toward the sounds of chaos. Forged in the crucible of training, they are the first to move toward the sounds of tyranny, injustice, and despair. They are the few, the proud, the Marines.
Period number 1, 12-7 score. Johnson and Dar back to receive the kick of Condor, who will boot it away from the 40. Dar's got a little more incentive to do something not only on the kickoff return but offensively after the fumble set up the go-ahead touchdown for Allegheny.
And knowing Dakari right now, he's taking it very personally, and I guarantee you he will come back and make a play.
Condor high pooch kick. Grab is made by Dolly at the 26. He gets to the 29.
Allegany's been very effective on that kickoff. Condor's doing a great job just trying to keep that ball away from the deep men. Maybe if they would have done that at the beginning of the ball game, Fort Hill would not be on the scoreboard.
Got a feeling that the kickoff return of 88 yards may have prompted the new kickoff from Condor.
I agree with that.
Football on the 29 where it is first down and 10. And Fort Hill trying to get something together offensively, now down by a 5-point margin. You got to like the confidence, though, of Fort Hill. Immediately going back to Dar, who fumbled on the previous offensive play from Fort Hill.
And for Allegany, Kirk Robinette came from his middle linebacker position and just stopped him in his tracks for a loss of 2. Right now, Allegany is on fire. Right now, Allegany can do no wrong. Fort Hill needs to try to straighten it around here. And Fort Hill is going to take a timeout and try to regroup.
12-7 score. Allegany's got the advantage. We have played a quarter. We are back with more from Cumberland, Maryland after a timeout. This is the Great American Rivalry Series, and it's brought to you by the United States Marines.
The Great American Rivalry Series. 48 classic matchups nationwide. The biggest moments under the brightest lights. Hardcore great American football the way it was meant to be. In the stands and on the fields. Be a part of the action when the greatest show in high school sports comes to a town near you. The Great American Rivalry Series, presented by the United States Marines from I-High. Who's your rival?
On the field or in the bleachers, get your game day gear from Hibbett Sports.
Well, who would have thought it after a quarter of play? The advantage does not belong to the unbeaten squad. Doesn't belong to the team that was leading by 7 after 13 seconds. It belongs to Alleghany. A 12-7 score as we get second quarter action underway. And Allegany's, well, they're just kind of playing rude against Dar. Dar had his helmet yanked off. These guys from Alleghany ready to play football.
Last year, Alleghany had a sophomore, an all-area sophomore linebacker by the name of Kirk Robinette. His dad played with me in 1985. Great linebacker, fullback himself. he's made a big difference today. He blitzed that time, made the tackle, and they have Fort Hill on their heels. And Fort Hill's going to take another timeout.
12-7 score. Alleghany with the advantage over Fort Hill. Let's take a timeout, too. And we'll be back after this, the 10th anniversary series of the Great American Rivalry. It is brought to you by Hibbett Sports.
There are a few who move toward the sounds of chaos. Forged in the crucible of training, they are the first to move toward the sounds of tyranny, injustice, and despair. They are the few, the proud, the Marines.
Fort Hill with a timeout with the end of the quarter, then taking another timeout. So they've been talking lately and trying to get things together on the football field as Squires drops back, looks, fires, pass is complete. Question is, though, was he able to get the first as Devin Shreve dives for the first, and I think with that dive got enough to move the sticks.
Beautiful pass that time. He had all day long. Fort Hill did a good job. It's like I said earlier, you know, I think Alleghany has what it takes to stop the running game, but you have to watch that passing game. That was a big play right there for the Sentinels.
They needed a first down. They needed something to motivate the troops offensively. First down and 10, football at the 40-yard line. Squires sending Barnes in motion, then the give goes to Dar, and Dar, for the most part, thus far, early though, obviously lots of football still to come. They've had his number. Picks up a yard.
They have had his number. And again, you know, we're up here by the Alleghany coaches, and they're calling out the plays. As Fort Hill comes to the line, whichever motion, whichever set, they're calling what plays are coming, and that just comes from good coaching. Fort Hill's the same way. When Alleghany has the ball, Fort Hill is yelling the plays. That comes from good coaching and watching them play all year long.
Give a couple of yards to Dar. Second down and 8, football at the 43. The offense has not been in Alleghany territory yet. Another pass completion. This time it is Ryan Shives who makes the grab.
Nice catch by Shives that time, giving Fort Hill another first down, I do believe.
Very close to one if it's not.
We're going to call a timeout and measure here.
Timeout on field for a measurement.
I tell you, Hunter Squires, the senior, he's very calm, very collective young man. I saw him play a couple of times this year in big ball games, and he's not afraid to throw the ball out there in important situations.
Let's go back to some of the rivalries, though, that you may remember, and why.
Oh, my. There's just so many. When I played, my senior year was 1985. We come in here undefeated. And that was before the new setup with the playoffs, so we were not going to play Fort Hill twice. We beat Fort Hill, and then we went on to lose in the state championship. So I guess my senior year is probably my biggest. And the next biggest is my son's senior season. He graduated last year, running back for Alleghany, Madison, Wolford, and he did it. And, you know, as a dad, I tell you, it was tough. I do radio for Alleghany football, Magic 100.5 here in Cumberland, and, you know, calling that ball game was tough. Those are probably the two biggest moments I can remember.
There was enough on the first down. Squires to Shives. It is first down and 10, just inside Alleghany territory. Hand off again to Dar. Dar's got into the outside. He's got the first. Biggest run of the ball game, and then loses the football again.
And they're going to give it to Alleghany. Yep, Dar lost the ball again that time. The senior, Jordan Shook, come up and made a big hit on him, and the ball popped out. Alleghany football.
It was Dar churning those legs, trying to get some additional yardage. Had his helmet stuck in the gut of the defender, and then the ball just pops out.
Big play that time by the senior, Jordan Shook, for the Campers.
So the most productive Dar play of the ball game turns into another fumble.
Yeah, when he broke outside, I thought, uh-oh, here we go. And you saw his speed. He has great speed and great leg strength, but just gave it up. That's twice today.
First down and 10, football at the 35-yard line for Alleghany, leading it by 5. And off to Lopez. Lopez still on his feet to the 40.
Going back to the keys of the game. Before the game, I said the key Fort Hill has to do, don't give the ball up. And because they've done it all year long. Do not give it up. And they've given it up twice now. One time costing them a touchdown. This time possibly costing them points on their own behalf.
You consider the fact they've had 4 offensive series. 2 of the 4, they've handed the football back over to Alleghany. And Dar, his senior season, this is not what he wanted to wrap up the senior campaign. Now, obviously, Fort Hill's got opportunity in postseason, but here's the big rivalry, the homecoming. Second down, 5. Up the middle.
Robinette's going to be close to the first down, but I think he's going to be just a foot short. That time he tripped, I tell you, if he could have kept his feet, I think he had many more yards to go on that one because there was one person between him and the goal line.
Robinette, 6'3", 200-pounder.
The concern all year long for Alleghany week after week has been their line. And I tell you, today, Allegany's offensive line has stepped up and they're playing football here in the homecoming game.
Third down and short. Football at the 44. You get near the 45, you got the first. Eric gives to Robinette. He's got the first and more. Bounces it to the outside. Still on his feet. Steps out of the 48.
One change I've seen Alleghany made here today, and I heard that they were going to do it, but I wasn't sure. They've taken the backup fullback, Dylan Shockey, and put him at the offensive end. So now you not only have an offensive end there that has hands, you have an offensive end that has some size, and he made a nice block that time on the defensive end for Fort Hill.
Football to the 47-yard line where it is first down and 10.
Fort Hill's back in their 4-man front. It's actually like a 4-3 with the monster man. The monster man's going to the wing side of the campers.
Lopez, the wide out to the opposite side. He's the guy in motion on a first and 10. Robinette again with the carry. Again bounces it to the outside. This time picks up 2.
Yeah, the way his head went down like that, I thought maybe we had a face mask here, but we didn't. But a great tackle that time by Alex Barnes. Not only can he return football kickoffs, he's a very good defensive player.
2-yard gain by Robinette. Second down and 8. Alleghany enjoying a 5-point lead and trying to again benefit from a fumble. Dar fumbled at his own 8. 3 plays later, Eric's in with a 4-yard touchdown run. Then fumbles at the 29. And now you've got Alleghany looking at a second down and 8 with a rollout by Eric. Trying to get around all those red jerseys and turn the corner near the 47-yard line. Got back to the line of scrimmage. That's it.
Great job that time by the defensive end there for Fort Hill. That's Preston Bryant that time come up there and made a big stop there for the Sentinels. So 3rd and long for the Campers. Speaking of Presley Bryant, Cody Arago, and Brennan Conlon is going to the Crab Bowl, which is played in the state of Maryland for the all-star high school players in the state of Maryland. So good luck to them coming up later on this summer.
3rd down long. Let's see if it's a passing situation for Eric. Steps back, steps up, rushed, sacked, dropped at the 48-yard line.
And he had men open. He had men open down the middle, but he could not get away from that Sentinels defense.
Joe Mandela,
big play that time for the Sentinels.
stopping Eric back at the 46-yard line. Punting situation. Condor to do the honors. Johnson as well as Shreve awaiting the kick on opposing hash marks.
Much better center that time.
Condor's kick hits at the 27, rolls out around the 27.
Special teams very important in a ball game like this, where you know it's going to be a close game. It's going to be a game of field position, and Nathan Condor, good job that time getting the ball down inside the 30-yard line for the Campers.
Fort Hill showing confidence after Dar's first fumble, gave him the football immediately. Do you give him the football immediately after the second fumble?
Oh, yeah. Yes, sir. He's made way more better plays for you this year than those 2 fumbles. So, yes, I'd give the ball right back to him.
Football on the 26-yard line. And there's running room for Johnson. Johnson down the sidelines. He will scamper the distance.
There's that big play. Ty Johnson, his second touchdown of the game. It was a simple sweep to the left. Nice blocking by the Sentinels. Nobody could catch it.
73-yard touchdown run for Johnson. So Johnson, who had the 88-yard kickoff return, now has a 73-yard touchdown rushed in for the Fort Hill squad. And Allegany all of a sudden seeing a lead they enjoyed at 5. Now in the hands of Fort Hill by 1, an opportunity to make it 2. Chris King set to tack on the extra point and extend the lead to 2. It's up and good.
That's that big play opportunity that Fort Hill gives you with the speed in the backfield. If it's not Dar, it's Johnson. If it's not Johnson, it's Barnes. So great play that time by Barnes.
6 minutes, 42 seconds left to play in the first half. Ty Johnson 14, Allegheny 12. We're back after a timeout. This is the Great American Rivalry Series, and it's brought to you by the United States Marines.
There are a few who move toward the sounds of chaos. Forged in the crucible of training, they are the first to move toward the sounds of tyranny, injustice, and despair. They are the few, the proud, the Marines.
Getting hit from the blind side like that, man, you can't see that thing coming. And if he would happen to go down, they have another quarterback, a junior, Evix, and then they have a sophomore also on the squad, Carson Ives.
Play clock down to 3, 2, 1. Snap just before the play clock ends. Bubble screen. It was intended, I guess, for Robinette. Made it look like the screen. I'm not sure, because Eric may have just been getting rid of the football with that strong rush.
Yeah, he was getting rid of the football, no doubt in my mind. Now he's going to be looking back. Every time he rolls, he's going to be looking back. And, a defense that can play and hit you like that takes your quarterback completely out of his ball game.
4th down, 8. This is a big down for Allegheny, because if you do not convert on a 4th, and it appears as though they'll go for it. Now a timeout called, and maybe they'll come back and punt. But if you go for it and don't convert, you still leave 2 minutes on the clock, and this has been a big play Fort Hill squad.
Well, Allegheny is definitely going to go for it on 4th down. If they don't get it, they're just going to have to play good defense, and they have the whole first half except for one play. They let Johnson get off the left-hand side there and go for a long touchdown. Other than that, Allegheny shut Fort Hill's offense down. It's been big plays by Johnson with the interception, the kickoff return, and then, like I said, one good offensive play, and that's all Allegany's given up.
2 minutes, 4 seconds left to play in the half. What's the discussion about on both sidelines?
Well, right now Allegany's trying to figure out a way to get that first down and keep this momentum rolling and try to get some points before the half. And Fort Hill's just over there saying, listen, we have a good defense. We know we have a good defense. Let's step it up here and stuff them.
If you are Allegheny, are you going to send your punt team out? Doesn't look like they will, so our question's answered. But
not inside the 30-yard line or at the 30. You're not going to. Coach Prescorn is not going to punt the ball.
If you're thinking field goals, you're looking at about a 47-yard effort, so that would be a very long try for Condor. 3rd down, 7. Make that 4th and 7. Pass is complete. Robinette inside the 20, down to the 16.
Nice play that time by Trenton Eric to pass to Kirk Robinette. Kirk Robinette's been his favorite target all year long. Started out as a tight end, but now coming out of the fullback position. My hat's off to Trenton Eric. He took a big hit 2 plays ago, and then there he had a high snap. He stayed under control, made a nice pass. Allegany's looking for some points here.
1:52 left to play in the half. Big on 2 fronts. First of all, you're getting closer to scoring. Number 2 is you keep the Fort Hill offense off the field. Eric sees nothing to the left side and then steps backwards, drop to the 20, and then a flag comes in late.
Yeah, I think they're going to call a late hitter here on Fort Hill.
Tackle made by number 58, Brandon Carlin, number 41, Cody Dolly.
Face mask on the Sentinels. That's a big penalty, whether or not it's going to be the 5-yard or 15. But did they change that in high school? I think they changed it in high school that everything's, and it's going to be a 5-yarder.
But it is big in the fact that Fort Hill had stopped Eric 5 yards behind the line of scrimmage. So you take the 5 off that they would have lost, and then you add 5 on the infraction. So in essence, just about a 10-yard turnaround. Down to the 14-yard line with 1:27 left to play in the half. First down for Alleghany. Eric wants to go upstairs. Galladay was open temporarily in the corner. Doesn't matter. Eric could not get around Brennan Carlin.
You have to get rid of that football. You cannot take a 20-yard loss on that play right there. You're rolling out and there's nobody there. Throw it out there at the receiver's feet. Do something. You cannot take that sack. They're way out of field goal range now.
All the way back to the 29-yard line, where it is 2nd down and 23 with 51 seconds left. Where you got the coaches up here beckoning them to get to the line of scrimmage, and you got campers that are just seemingly taking all day. Into coverage, it is tipped away.
Yeah, Fort Hill that time, great coverage. They had 3 men on him. I think he was looking for 1 man that time, and that was Galladay. He's actually lucky it was not intercepted.
Alex Barnes able to tip it away. Stops the clock with 34 seconds remaining, and it's still 23 yards for a first, this time 3rd and 23.
Looks like Fort Hill's timeout that time worked to their advantage. They were able to set up a good defensive scheme, putting a lot of pressure on the quarterback. Dolly coming from that middle linebacker, Shives, Swan, all 3 of them coming hard from those linebacker positions.
3rd down 23 from the 29. Galladay in motion. Eric the snap. Pass is dropped over the middle. Galladay couldn't hang on at the 19.
Hit him in the bad spot, right in the hands. That ball was right in the breadbasket. I think he was worried about running before he caught the ball, and he dropped it. Nice pass that time by Eric. Again, as much pressure as he's been under and many times he's been hit, he's still throwing a nice ball across the middle.
Alleghany will go for it again on 4th down. Previous 4th down conversion was an Eric to Robinette pass completion. This time, if you're going to complete a pass to get the first, you got to go at least 24 yards.
4th down and forever here for the Campers.
Twin receivers to both sides. Eric drops back, lobs towards the end zone. Lopez, incomplete. He was the intended target. Adam Duval broke it up.
Nice play that time by Duval. Eric doesn't quite have the arm for that pass right there. Came up a little bit short. Duval doing a great job on coverage.
25 seconds remain as Fort Hill gets it back.
Alleghany cannot give up another big play here. They have to play tough defense because Fort Hill will go for the touchdown here, try to do something.
It has been a big play Centennial squad, but it looks like the Sentinels will go into a formation that is comparable to the victory formation.
It sure is. So Fort Hill's going to put a knee down, which is surprising. I thought maybe Coach Apple would go for something there, but.
Well, it's surprising in that your first touchdown took 13 seconds. Your second touchdown drive took about 10 seconds. And then your third touchdown was the return of an interception, so that took about 10 or 15 seconds. So when you had 25 on the clock, that's all day.
You're exactly right.
This went over as far as 2 quarters of football are concerned, 21-12. Your halftime score, Fort Hill with the advantage. We will take a timeout and be back. The Great American Rivalry Series in its 10th anniversary is brought to you by the United States Marines.
There are a few who move toward the sounds of chaos, ready to respond at a moment's notice. And when the time comes, they are the first to move toward the sounds of tyranny, injustice, and despair. They are forged in the crucible of training. They are the few, the proud, the Marines.
There's no need to worry about how you're going to pay for college anymore. The iHelp loan program enables students to fill their needs in financing their education. If you need to borrow money for college, as most Americans do, SLFC and the iHelp loan program may be your best option. The loan features the most competitive rate available and is offered through your local ICBA bank with the help of SLFC, the student loan company thousands have trusted to help them pay for college. SLFC.com and explore all your options now.
There are a few who move toward the sounds of chaos. Forged in the crucible of training, they are the first to move toward the sounds of tyranny, injustice, and despair. They are the few, the proud, the Marines.
Chris King's got it teed up at the 40-yard line, and we have second half action underway with the kick to Lopez. Grabs into the 8, to the 30, and to the 32-yard line goes Lopez. Allegany, which won the coin toss, opted to defer to the second half, obviously returning the kick to begin half number 2.
Timmy Friend with a big hit that time for the Sentinels on Lopez. Again, Allegany has the ball starting between the 30 and the 40-yard line all day long.
Excellent field position throughout the game for the Campers. 33-yard line, the line of scrimmage. Let's see how Eric responds. The quarterback for Allegany after that vicious dolly hit. Just didn't seem like the same quarterback the 3 or 4 plays after the. Starting the second half at the QB helm. Turnaround give goes to Robinette. Robinette stumbles to the 38. Gain of 5.
Tripped up that time by the middle linebacker. Number 41, Cody Dolly, coming in making a nice stop. Cody Dolly having a good game here defensively for the Sentinels. Cody Arrigo, Joe Medella, good game today for the Sentinels defensively.
Opening drive in the second half, very important for Allegheny to establish, maybe even reestablish themselves. After they had that 5-point lead, saw it turn into a 2-point advantage on the Ty Johnson 73-yard run. And then a 9-point advantage for Fort Hill on the Ty Johnson 43-yard interception return. Allegany able to get to the 40, and it brings up 3rd down and 3.
Again, Cody Dolly on the stop there. He's coming down the line. He's scraping blockers, making tackles, making a real good bid for Defensive Player of the Game here today.
I was about to say the exact same thing. If you're talking about candidates for the offensive and defensive honors on the Fort Hill side, you've got to, and there's no way you can consider anyone except Ty Johnson. Defensively, Dolly. What about on the Allegheny side?
Oh, Allegheny, Robinette really stepping up on the defense.
And Robinette to the 40.
And Lopez offensively, so.
Number 31, Kurt Robinette, ball carrier.
Robinette not able to get enough for the first 4th down, and Condor will step onto the turf to boot it away to Shreve and Ty Johnson. And if I'm Condor, I'm kicking it into the next county if I've got to keep it away from Ty Johnson.
Away from Mr. Johnson.
Johnson stands at the 33. Low snap, Condor. The kick that Shreve will it bounce in front of him. Robinette watches it roll down to the 26. And that's where things will start in the second half for Fort Hill.
Allegheny always has always liked to defer to the second half because coming out of the locker room, sometimes you catch the other team defensively sleeping. They've been sitting in the locker room during all the performances, and you might be able to get down and sneak a couple points. That time, Fort Hill stood their ground, stopped Allegheny in 3 plays, and now it's the offense's turn to see what they can do.
Well, I've got to ask you about Darf. 3 fumbles in the first half. He's
Give it right back to him.
All right,
Give it right back to him.
He is in the backfield behind quarterback Squires on a 1st down and 10 for the 26-yard line. And indeed, Dar's got the football. Crosses the 25 and is pummeled at the 28.
Yeah, give it right back to him. You know, he's a good young man. He's a hard player. He's worked all year long. He's had a bad couple plays here today. Give the ball right back to him.
Gain of a couple, 2nd down and 8, football at the 28-yard line. Opening moments of quarter number 3, a 9-point Fort Hill lead on a gorgeous afternoon here in Maryland. Temperatures expected to reach around 60. Understand that later on in the week, maybe not quite so gorgeous. Unless, of course, you like the white stuff. As Squires drops back. The DB fell down, and that meant that the grab could be made by Shreve, who steps out at the 41. If Shreve knows the defensive player fell down, he may have cut it upfield.
That was a sophomore, Carson Imes, starting out here at this left cornerback. That time something jumped up in front of him there, and he tripped and fell. Yeah, I agree with you. If he knew he fell, I think he would have turned and went up the field.
Squires on the complete pass to Shreve to the 39, 1st and 10. Opening drive of the second half for Fort Hill. Allegany's had one opportunity already here in quarter number 3. And
quarterback sneaking to fumble.
Dropped it, fight to try to get it back. Looks like Sentinels have got it.
Squires that time trying to quarterback sneak, and again giving up the football, which is something that's really plagued the Sentinels. And coming into this game, we said they could not give the ball up.
And the interesting thing about the drops is it's not really after vicious smacks. It's just losing the football.
Just losing the football, yes, sir.
Second down, we'll call it 6 football at the 43-yard line. 8:37 left to play in the third.
That's going to be a legal procedure on the campers.
And there goes the 5-yard mark off that turns a second into a 2nd and 1.
Was that the third penalty today? It's either the second or the third.
Haven't been many.
No, not many at all. And like I said earlier, you know, this is game 10. You're expected not to make mistakes like that in game 10. Concentration.
You had the offsides, you had the face mask, you had the offsides there, and there was one over there, so about 3 or 4. Here's Ty Johnson. Uh-oh.
There he goes.
Just about every time he touches the football, he's headed towards 6. Looked like he was going that direction again, but wrapped up at the 36-yard line.
Yeah, Robinette scraping from his middle linebacker position that time, making that stop, or I think it was 6 more for Mr. Johnson. Fort Hill's definitely found something they like off that left side of the offensive line.
1st down and 10, football at the 36. Johnson after the 14-yard run. Now 90 yards and a couple of carries for Johnson. This is Dar inside the 30 to the 28-yard line.
And I think he dropped the ball again. They're going to give it back to Fort Hill.
Well, we saw there what you were talking about, that powerful leg strength by Dar. Doesn't easily go down. And we're not sure if Dar's got 9 or 10. And now the officials say about 9.5. Second down and short, football at the 27. Squires. And Dar's got the first as he powers his way inside the 20 to the 19.
There's that powerful running, but we've been familiar seeing this year out of Dar. Great push by the offensive line from Fort Hill, and Dar just pumping those legs for a first down for the Sentinels.
And Allegany wants a timeout. So with the timeout, we take one as well. 7:20 to play in the third. Fort Hill with a 21-12 lead. This is the Great American Rivalry Series, and it's brought to you by the United States Marines.
There are a few who move toward the sounds of chaos. Forged in the crucible of training, they are the first to move toward the sounds of tyranny, injustice, and despair. They are the few, the proud, the Marines.
Bit of a squib kick that's a live ball, and it is finally recovered, I believe, by Allegheny, and the official indicates yes at the 18-yard line. But that was a live ball that skimmed off a number of fingertips before being wrapped up by the Campers of the 18.
Yeah, Jordan Shook coming up that time with the ball for the Campers. I tell you, it went through 3 sets of hands that time. I don't think it was intentionally done that by Fort Hill. I think it was just trying to keep the ball out of Lopez's hands, but it almost turned into a great play for the Sentinels.
7:08 left to play in the third, 29-12. Your third quarter score. Fort Hill trying to put some distance between they and the Campers. Campers with their worst field position of the ball game at the 19-yard line. I think we're going to be going to Rick Ford here in just a moment as the handoff goes to Lopez. Lopez avoiding a would-be behind the line of scrimmage stop, and then able to turn it into something positive. Ben Savage was the guy that almost got Lopez, but Lopez able to get away and pick up positive yardage to the 27-yard line. Gain of 8 when it looked like Lopez would be dropped for a 5-yard loss.
Right, Lopez has been doing that all year long. You know, he like we said, he just doesn't stop. He reminds you of a Dakari Dar. He has that leg strength and quickness. He's made some big plays this year for the Campers.
Second down and a pair. Football at the 28-yard line. Maybe not a must-score drive for Allegheny, but pretty close. As Lopez crosses the 30, he's got the first.
Yeah, it's not time to give up here. You know, you just run your offense and get down and get some points. I mean, it's early in the third quarter. Anything can happen here. And Allegheny come out and has played well all game long. And
Lopez, number 417018.
Eric, brief trip over to the sidelines, and now back to the huddle where it is first down and 10 at the 31-yard line.
That's something you'll see Allegheny do every play. The quarterback comes to the sideline and gets a play.
Eric underneath center. Handoff goes to Robinette, who makes his way to the 32, gets a couple of yards. Second down and 8.
Allegany's known for grinding out the football. Allegany's known for the wing T, having a dominating fullback, a fast halfback, and a very quick and good blocking wing. that's the secrets to the wing T. If you have a dominating fullback and a good blocking wing back, that's how you dominate when running the wing T.
2nd down and 8, 15-point advantage Fort Hill. Still lots of time left, but you can't take a whole lot of time. Down by a couple of scores as Eric sends it to the left side, looking for running room, and steps out of bounds after a 2-yard gain. I think Rick Ford's got a guess down on the sideline, so let's send it down to Rick. Rick?
Thank you, Robert. I'm down here with Major Bach of the United States Marine Corps. You guys are on the field here today. You have an opportunity to see a pretty good ball game. Can you talk a little bit about the mission of the Marines as it relates to the way these young men are playing on their football teams?
Absolutely. Rick, thank you for doing that. Appreciate it. We as United States Marines always work toward a common objective in defense of our nation, just like these fine young men out here in the field working toward the objective of winning this great high school football game.
And we appreciate the fact that you guys come out here and support this. I don't know if you realize we go to over 70 games like this for you guys. How does this work as far as your relation and your opportunity to talk to the young men who might want to see the Marines as a career?
Really, for us, it helps identify some of the key networks and identify some fine young men that are interested in becoming United States Marines and working toward helping identify who they are and getting them to come on board with us.
Well, as I said, we really appreciate your support of this and what you do, and more importantly, what you do for this country. Thank you for your service. Thank you for everything you do, and thanks for being a part of the Great American Rivalry Series.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it, and happy Veterans Day.
That's it from here, Robert. Major Bach, United States Marine Corps.
All right, thank you very much, Rick. And I like those kind of Marines, where they give me the microphone. Let me do the talking. And Marines have certainly done some talking, and we've done some listening, and we thank you very much for the sponsorship of coverage in this one. Shreve taking the punt of Condor and brings it to midfield inside Allegheny territory to the 48-yard line.
That's Fort Hill's best starting position yards-wise here in this ball game. Nice return that time. While we were away, Trenton Eric tried to roll to the right there and throw a pass. The pass came up short, and Trenton took another hard hit. I'm hoping these hits don't start piling up on him and causing some problems physically for him because, there's some big-time hitting going on out there.
1st down and 10. It is a 29-12 ball game with 5:32 to play in the third. Squires once more tosses toward Shreve, incomplete.
Going after the sophomore there, Carson Imes at defensive cornerback that time. Carson doing a great job on coverage. Fort Hill trying to pick on the sophomore there.
Incomplete pass stops the clock with 5:28 to play in the third. 2nd down, 10. Well, whereas stat-wise, the first half was basically all Allegheny, second half thus far has been all Fort Hill.
And that's usually what happens in these type of ball games.
United States Marines, by the way, tossing T-shirts into the stands as Ty Johnson brings it inside the 30 to the 29-yard line, gain of 17.
Nice tackle that time by Galladay. Ty Johnson breaking out to the left. That's what I'm saying. I think Fort Hill definitely found something off that left side they like. I don't know if it's the lineman matchup there, but Johnson doing a great job running the ball.
And that run puts Johnson over 100 yards on the day on the ground on 3 carries.
Boy, that's an average now, isn't it?
Of course, it's a lot worse than the original average, which was 1 carry, 73 yards.
Yes, indeed.
1st down and 10, football on the 25-yard line. Johnson with those 3 touchdowns in the ballgame. The only non-Johnson score came on the opening drive of the second half for Fort Hill as Squires backs his way to the 20.
Again, I'm not sure if that is a design play or not, but it has not been effective at all today for the Sentinels. He fakes the handoff and turns his back to the defense, and when everybody moves out, then he runs up the field. That's one I wouldn't run anymore if I was Fort Hill.
Gain of 4, 2nd and 6. Football just shy of the red zone. 4.5 to play in the third. Squires with Dar in the backfield. Dar trying to recover in the second half from those 3 first-half fumbles, all recovered by Allegany. And it is Squires around the end. near the 10 before he's shoved out.
And Squires had a nice block out there. Richard Lloyd, the backside offensive guard, he gave him an escort around the end there. There wasn't anybody getting in front of him.
First down and 10 at the 11. Fort Hill trying to get over the 30-point barrier, leading at 29-12. Dar in the backfield behind his quarterback Squires. You've also got Shreve in the backfield too. If you're looking for Ty Johnson, he's at that wingback slot. Handoff goes to Dar, and Dar gets to the 10.
Upending that time by Lopez. Lopez coming hard off his corner position. Did a great job taking Dar's feet from out from underneath of him.
Gain of a yard, second down and 9. Now, is it my understanding Dar will maybe playing football next year for the Terrapins?
I don't know exactly who's looking at him or anything like that. I think that if he does go down there, he's going to threaten some of those weightlifting records. I can guarantee you that.
Wrapped up behind the line of scrimmage, Alex Barnes.
Nice play that time by Jordan Shook coming up from his safety position on a safety blitz that time, making a nice tackle.
Barnes represents the lone non-Ty Johnson Fort Hill scorer in the ball game. Wrapped up after a loss of 3, third down and 12, football back to the 13-yard line. Running clock, inside 3 minutes to play in the third. And a timeout asked for by Squires. So with the time, we take one as well. 10th anniversary of the Great American Rivalry Series is in Maryland today for Fort Hill and Allegany. We're back after this timeout, and our coverage brought to you in part by Hibbett Sports.
There are a few who move toward the sounds of chaos, ready to respond at a moment's notice. And when the time comes, they are the first to move toward the sounds of tyranny, injustice, and despair. They are forged in the crucible of training. They are the few, the proud, the Marines.
To get back into this ball game, you've got to get back on this drive.
Yeah, something's going to happen quick. You know, not only was that a 3-point productive drive for the Sentinels, they also ran 6 minutes off the clock. So Fort Hill did what they wanted to do. They ran time off the clock, plus they got 3 points. So Allegany's going to have to really step it up here, not take so much time in between plays, and try to get down the field and score.
King with it teed up at the 40. Lopez back at the goal line to receive for Allegany. It's a game that's featured a kickoff return for a touchdown, an interception return for a touchdown, and there's that squibber again that has created problems for the Campers before. Galladay comes up with it, fights across the 35 to the 37-yard line, and Allegany will have it first down and 10 with inside 2 to play here in the third.
Nice play that time by Galladay. Again, it went through 2 different men's hands before it got to him, and he made a nice 12-yard return there, starting Allegany inside between the 30 and the 40 again. That has to be their average. Their average start has to be between the 30 and 40-yard line.
First down and 10.
Their worst starting position was on the 19, so I would say that their average is between 35 and probably 40.
That's not a bad day where your worst field position is the 19.
You're exactly right.
First down and 10. And that is a new face, Dylan Shockey, running the football out to the 38-yard line.
Dylan Shockey, the senior, started the season at fullback, was the fullback the first 2 games, and has always been very productive at fullback. He's a big boy. He likes to run hard and does a real good job.
Got a yard, 2nd down and 9. Football to the 38-yard line. Is this a Allegheny squad, though, that plays well substantially behind? Have they got that kind of offense? It's more run-oriented.
It's much run-oriented, and in that aspect, I would say coming back it's kind of hard sometimes. But still, I think they're just taking too much time between plays here, for one thing.
Lopez in motion. Pitch goes to Lopez. Nothing around the corner. Cut it back up inside and did not get back to the line of scrimmage. It will be 3rd and long. Well, if it was a matter of halftime adjustments, then it would appear as though Fort Hill made the appropriate adjustments coming into the 3rd.
I would agree. I'm sure both teams made many adjustments. It's just that both teams, to me, and maybe I'm wrong, maybe you're seeing something different, but both teams are a little flat in the second half. The enthusiasm's not there. Even though Fort Hill has scored some points in the second half, neither team looks like they're pumped up at all.
Agreed. And at the half, it was just a 21-12 ball game. You're still playing in front of thousands of people in a rivalry ball game. But the 3rd quarter has been a bit lackluster as the pitch back goes to Lopez. Lopez down the sidelines. He needed more than he got. Needed 10, picked up 5. Stepped out with 17 seconds to play in the 3rd. Well, media reps asked to provide the offensive and defensive player of the game. I'm going to be shocked if anyone puts a name other than Ty Johnson for offensive player. He has been dynamite today. Condor with a punt. Shreve lets it bounce at the 31, picks it up at the 27. And then hops out of the 33. A flag comes in late. Haven't had a lot of flags, but we've got one there.
Yeah, that's only the fifth flag thrown here today. It's been a nice, clean ball game. And you like to see that because sometimes ball games like this can get pretty ugly with personal fouls and et cetera, and that has not happened today. A lot of these kids, once they walk off this field and they go home, call them up on the phone, hey, let's go out, let's go to the movies, let's go hang out. And, I mean, that's just the kind of town it is. You know, the kids on both sides of the ball here are good friends.
Rivalries for about 3 hours on a Saturday afternoon and buddies after the fact.
That's right. And for 10 weeks, you're buddies, and in that 10th week, you're rivals. And then when it's over with, you go back to being friends.
9 seconds remain in the 3rd. Fort Hill with a 1st down and 10 after the illegal block foul that shoved them backwards. Dar on the carry out to the 30, and that should end the 3rd. 32-12. After 3 quarters of football, we are back for the 4th and final stanza of this one. After a timeout, the Great American Rivalry Series now in its 10th year and brought to you by the United States Marines.
There are a few who move toward the sounds of chaos. Forged in the crucible of training, they are first to move toward the sounds of tyranny, injustice, and despair. They are the few, the proud, the Marines.
We head into the final 12 minutes of this one between Fort Hill and Allegany. Fort Hill, by the way, won up the chin-up challenge that presented by the United States Marines as well as part of the Great American Rivalry Series. And it's just a cumulative total of which school can get more chin-ups during the course of a certain time frame.
In the first year they did that, I'll tell you, they had somebody over there really put out a high number from Fort Hill. So it's something the kids look forward to every year now.
We head into the fourth with a 2nd down and 6 football at the 29-yard line. Barnes getting his number called across the 30 to near the 35-yard line before being shoved out of bounds.
I'm not sure right now, with this much time left to go in the ball game, that Fort Hill really wants to go out of bounds. I think they want to stay in bounds, keep that clock rolling, keep the ball out of Allegany's hands, and see if they can just ride this one out.
Barnes gets enough for the first. You got Barnes who can run it out of the backfield. You've got Dard. You've got Johnson. You've got some weapons in that Fort Hill backfield.
Well, you sure do. And the size of Fort Hill's line, they have a very potent offense.
Squires over to Johnson. Loses the football, and there's something that hasn't happened often today. Dar recovers it.
Johnny on the spot that time. Dakari Dar picked her right up off the carpet there. That was a nice hit that time by Lopez.
32-12 score, 11:36 left to play in the fourth. Fort Hill with the advantage. Chris Hill tacking on that, or make that Chris King tacking on that field goal of 31 yards to extend it to 20. Second down, 10. Hand off to Dar. Dar
there he goes.
Midfield, kicks it in, 40. Down the sidelines, into the end zone, touchdown Dar.
I told you he'd make up for those fumbles. Keep giving him the ball.
65-yard touchdown run for Dar.
Nice job that time by Fort Hill. The left side of that offensive line, that's where they've been getting their runs from this year. Johnson twice off that side, and now Dar off that side. Great job blocking that time by the left side of the Fort Hill offensive line.
And all of a sudden, this game gets out of hand as Fort Hill leads at 38 with 11:04 left to play. Chris King trying to tack on the point.
It's a winner.
King's kick. Up and good. 39-12.
And now the Maryland State Public School rule of 35 points comes into play. The clock will run consistently unless there's a injury or a penalty. The clock will not stop.
Now is it 35 or 25? We got 39 to, which would make it a 27 point.
I looked up at the 39 and thought it was a 35. My fault.
I was about to say you were in the same school I did with the math, right?
So it will not run yet. I looked up at that 39 and I thought, okay, that's a 35-point rule. But you're correct.
One question, though, where that rule is concerned, is it, I know in some states, if you exceed 35, the clock runs. If you drop back below 35, it stops again. Yeah. But in other states, it will just roll regardless.
No, in Maryland, if it drops back under 35, then it stops again.
11:04 left to play, 39-12.
I don't think that's a bad rule. Yeah, I think it keeps kids from getting hurt. Drawn when something happens like that.
Taking out for the Sentinels, number 11, Chris King.
Allegany needs a big return, but Lopez here.
King's line drive kick. Galladay fields it to the 23. Out of the 40.
There he goes.
Room, midfield.
There he goes.
40. Got the kicker to beat. Got by him. Shoved out of bounds eventually by Ty Johnson.
Good job that time by Galladay.
And Galladay makes it to the 21-yard line where it will be first out and 10 for Allegany.
Johnson pushing him out of bounds there. I tell you what, Johnson's been everywhere today.
So Johnson scores for Fort Hill and stops Allegany from scoring as Galladay finally caught up with it at the 21-yard line where it is first out and 10.
Galladay's another senior on that squad, and I'm going to tell you, he's very quick. Runs track for the Campers. Very fast young man.
Shockey still in the backfield. Robinette got most of the carries in the first half, but Shockey in that backfield. Handoff goes to Galladay, though, who's inside the 20 down to the 16.
Nice block that time by Shockey coming out of the fullback position. Galladay getting up in the hole nicely. Allegany's still playing football here. Allegany's trying to get in the end zone.
Football down to the 16-yard line where it is 2nd down and 6.
I don't think you'll ever see any one of these teams quit. They might get down, but I don't think you'll ever see them quit.
Hand off to Lopez. And he is stopped at the 15 after a gain of a yard.
Number 2, Darius Lopez, ball carrier.
Again, Dolly coming off the ball near the Powell. And Joe Mandela coming off the bottom of the Powell for the Sentinels.
3rd down 4. And you mentioned earlier, and I will mention again, is the amount of time in between snaps. It's almost as if Allegany's not down by 27.
All year long, they've gone with the running the quarterback over to get the plays, and I think that adds a lot of time in between plays, and you have an interception.
Eric's pass picked off by Barnes at the 3.
Back to what we're talking about. All year long, they've come to the sidelines and got the play. One game earlier in the season, they experimented with bringing the tight ends in and out, and I thought it worked out well. Number one, I think it tires out the quarterback, and number two, I think there's too much time in between plays.
So the interception by Barnes denies Allegany an opportunity to get into the end zone. 9:36 left to play, and that might have been the final bit of negative.
Yeah, I see Coach Presscorn down here. I think he's going to start getting some subs into the game. Several seniors not seeing playing time yet today. Hopefully they'll get him in the ball game.
Handoff goes to Johnson. Johnson out to the 20. That will give you a little breathing room.
Nice tackle that time by Carson Imes, the sophomore, coming up making the stop. Yeah, he broke out in the open. I thought, here we go again. Again, it's off the left side of that line. Fort Hill loves the left side of that line.
17-yard gain out to the 19. 1st down and 10 for Fort Hill. 9.5 to play. 39-12. The advantage belonging to the Sentinels. Looking to go 10-0 for the 15th year in their school history. Squires, the quarterback keeper. And he is able to make his way to the 25, picking up 6.
Another sophomore in there playing Shepard, playing at that defensive end. Nice tackle.
Well, you can understand Squires taking all day to go to the sidelines, pick up the play, step in the huddle, and then eventually get his troops to the line of scrimmage. He wants that play clock down into single digits before each snap of the football. 27-point lead, and that play clock now is just that, into single digits as Squires eventually gets to the line of scrimmage where it's 2nd down and 4. Dar with the football. Scored on a 65-yard touchdown run moments ago, picks up 5 there, and has enough for the first.
Nice stop by Schaefer that time. Another senior on the squad. Cameron Schaefer with a nice tackle that time on Dakari Dar. And unfortunately his helmet came off, so he has to come out for one play.
It is an unusual rivalry. You were talking about the fact that these guys are rivals only for the 3 hours of the football game, buddies otherwise. And it doesn't have that we want to claw your eyes out type feel. These are guys that are, once they're brought down, it's a good play, guy, even though you're wearing the wrong colors jersey-wise.
And you'll see them after the game. They'll shake hands. And both teams have great respect for the other.
Squires' pass is complete. And Shives is still on his feet. You got a couple of campers that their campfires were put out at the 45-yard line, and Shives winds up in the end zone. It was like running into a redwood.
Yeah, both those guys come up there and tried to lay the wood to Shives, and he just kept on hammering it down the field. He's a big boy, and I tell you what, it didn't take him long to get in that end zone. Nice play.
Squires to Shives, touchdown from 70 yards out. It has been the big play all day long. The 88-yarder for Ty Johnson on the kickoff return. The 73-yarder on a touchdown run. The 43-yarder on an interception return. Darr 65 yards out for a touchdown. And now Squires finding Shives on the big return for the TD, and it's a 45-12 Fort Hill lead. Inside 8 to play in the ball game. Finally on his feet and able to make it to the sidelines is Jordan Shook.
Jordan have a great ball game at that safety position. As a junior last year in all area safety. This is his last game here as a senior. Did a great job for the Campers.
King to tack on the extra point and make it a 46-12 game. King's kick good. 34 the lead for Fort Hill with 7:55 to play. We're back after this, the Great American Rivalry Series in its 10th anniversary, and it's brought to you in part by the United States Marines.
There are a few who move toward the sounds of chaos. Forged in the crucible of training, they are the first to move toward the sounds of tyranny, injustice, and despair. They are the few, the proud, the Marines. There are a few who move toward the sounds of chaos, ready to respond at a moment's notice. And when the time comes, they are the first to move toward the sounds of tyranny, injustice, and despair. They are forged in the crucible of training. They are the few, the proud, the Marines.
King to kick it away from the 40-yard line. It's been of the squib variety, and it will continue to do so. Fielded at the 34-yard line. Across the 45 and into Sentinel territory. That is Dylan Shockey with a kickoff return. And again, Allegany, excellent field position. This field position, no exception. As a matter of fact, with the exception of the Darr fumble at about the 8 and the Darr fumble at the 20, this is the best field position of the game for Allegany.
I've been handed the Homecoming 2013 media voting on the offensive defensive player of the game. Ty Johnson from the Fort Hill Sentinels, the offensive player of the game, and Cody Dolly from the Sentinels, the defensive player of the game here today.
First down and 10 to the 49. Eric gives it to Shockey, and Shockey is going nowhere.
And that is voted on by all the radio stations, all the newspapers, the TV stations. Everybody gets one vote, and I think it was a unanimous vote here today, no doubt. Mr. Johnson put on a clinic today on how to run the football.
Scored the first 3 touchdowns of the ball game for Fort Hill. And the very first one of the ball game, 13 seconds in, he had popped it in from 88 yards away on a kickoff return. Second down and 10, Allegany. Again, slow getting to the line of scrimmage as the handoff goes to Galladay. Galladay's got the first and is brought out of bounds at the 31.
That's a nice run that time by Galladay for the first down. The guards got out in front of him, did some nice blocking. He ran nice downhill along the sidelines there just outside the 30-yard line.
Still a large contingency of fans on hand despite the 34-point advantage for Fort Hill. And the fact that we are now nearing the midpoint of the fourth. Eric with a first down and 10 at the 31-yard line. Galladay again with a carry. This time picks up 4.
Number 4, Tom Galladay, the ball carrier.
Ben Savage that time doing a great job for the Campers. He's the backside guard in that wing T offense. He pulled and came across and cleaned up the defensive end there that time of the Sentinels, giving Galladay room to run with a nice first down gain.
2nd down and 5, football at the 26. Hand off to Lopez. Lopez trying to get to the outside, cannot.
Number 2, Darian Lopez.
Lassoed as Dolly got him.
Yeah, Golly scraped down the line that time, getting rid of 2 blockers. Did a good job, and Cody Dolly's coming out of the ball game, folks. They're going to bring somebody else in for him. Coach giving him a big hug and congratulations on the sideline for the play he had today. The defensive player of the ball game, as voted on by the media here today.
Couple of yards on the gainer by Lopez. 3rd down and 3. 4-down territory, obviously, for Alleghany. Eric to pass. And the DBs do an excellent job of covering, so Eric's got nobody to go to. Flag finally. And a receiver open. That is Jack Hawkins. But Hawkins not able to get to the pass, but there are a couple of flags at the 27-yard line.
Speaking of Jack Hawkins, he received the award at the beginning of the game for the Alleghany Campers for the best GPA on the team.
Scholar athlete.
4.7 GPA for Jack Hawkins. That's a great GPA for a student athlete.
Chop block against the Campers. And penalty yardage marked off against Alleghany as this one winds inside 5:25 to go.
Yeah, that chop block, you cannot block anybody below the waist outside of the tackle box. So from tackle to tackle you can, and that time the tackle box was completely out of play and somebody threw a block low, and they call that to keep kids from getting knee injuries when it's not necessary.
I believe we've got a new quarterback in. That is Trevor Evix.
Trevor Evix, a junior, in for the Campers.
On a 3rd down and 20. And it's Evix to the right side. Finds a seam, breaks free inside the 25, spins to the 22, and turns it into a very manageable 4th down.
Nice play that time by Evix. It's that same quarterback keeper on the right-hand side. The wide out goes in motion, comes down, cracks down on the defensive end hard, and it gets the quarterback out there with a nice run that time.
4th down and a yard. So Eric given the rest of the day off. Evix in at QB for the Campers with a 4th down and right at 18 inches. Get to the 21, you got the first. Quarterback keeper by Evix.
And he's got it.
And makes his way into the red zone, the 6'1", 165-pounder.
Trevor did a real good job 2 games ago stepping in to start for Trenton Eric. Trenton had the concussion. Alleghany played up at Northern Garrett, and Trevor Committed did a very good job starting at quarterback. He shared time that game with the sophomore Carson Imes. I might add that the freshmen and JV teams both beat Fort Hill in their little homecoming matchup earlier this week.
Football inside the red zone at the 20. Fake to Lopez. Again, Evix on the keeper to the 15 and steps out of the 12.
Allegany's JV team went undefeated this year, so things are looking up for Alleghany. They have nothing to hold their head low about. Just have to rebuild and come back next year.
Clock continuing to run, inside 4 to go. 2nd down, a couple. Football at the 11.
Looks like we have Summerfield in for the Campers on the offensive line, along with Jack Hawkins coming in for the Campers.
Shockey and Lopez in the backfield behind quarterback Evix. Hand off to Lopez. And Lopez just shoved his blocker out of the way and rambles into the end zone for 12.
Nice run that time by Lopez.
A 12-yard touchdown run that makes it a 46-18 ball game.
I tell you, the sophomore Hunter Wilhelm that time, number 70, throwing a nice block to spring him on the outside. Camper's probably going to go for 2 here.
So Lopez with a 12-yard touchdown run. Obviously, they will go for the 2. Ebix, he's got it.
Walks into the end zone. Nice blocking that time for the Campers.
46-20. 3:18 to play. Fort Hill, the insurmountable lead, but Allegany trimming into that advantage. We are back after a timeout. It's the 10th anniversary of the Great American Rivalry Series, and it's brought to you by the United States Marines.
There are a few who move toward the sounds of chaos. Forged in the crucible of training, they are the first to move toward the sounds of tyranny, injustice, and despair. They are the few, the proud, the Marines.
Rick Ford's down on the sidelines. Rick, you look like you wanted to say something.
All I wanted to say, Robert, is we've been here for 2 days, and we'll let this kickoff go, and then you can call it.
Fair catch made by Adam Duvall.
As I was saying, we've been here for 2 days. These folks couldn't have been nicer to us in the whole time we've been here, but this is indicative of a rivalry like this. It does mean a lot. We went to the Allegheny pep rally yesterday. They were all excited. We saw the pep rally the night before at Fort Hill. It's a community effort and a community event, and these are the kind of rivalries that we built the Great American Rivalry Series around.
Well, it's got such an unusual flavor to it, though, with both teams observing homecoming, and these guys, they like each other, whereas a lot of rivals, they don't.
And they do that, and, you know, they really hold these players to a high standard, but they hold them in high esteem for the way they play this game.
First down, and on the quarterback keeper, well, the Allegheny squad putting in their backup guy, and so does Fort Hill as Rashawn Shives makes his way across the 45 to the 46-yard line.
Nice run that time by Shives. He didn't want to come down. He said, if I'm going to get in this ball game, I'm going to get as much time on that camera as I can. Nice run that time.
Three minutes to go in this football game. 46-20 advantage, Fort Hill. All academic from here. The 15th unbeaten season, regular season-wise, for Fort Hill. We'll wrap up in just a few moments as Candler crosses inside Allegheny territory.
So things I guess you could say now are pretty much in the books. Allegheny will not go on to play in the playoffs this year, so I want to congratulate them on a 5-5 season. They played hard, they played well this year. Coaches did a good job, and I want to wish good luck to the Fort Hill Sentinels on their venture to try to win a state championship. They'll take that undefeated season into next week's game against Manchester Valley, and it'll be played right here at Greenway Avenue Stadium.
Improving upon their state record of 14 unbeaten years. Now they're 15th. Second down and a couple. And churning his way to the 45-yard line is Ryan Smith.
Allegheny has the 8 state championships, and then the Fort Hill Sentinels has the 14. That's impressive. 14 undefeated seasons here at Fort Hill. That's impressive.
We'll take an opportunity to send out a congratulations to Michaela Garrison.
Fort Hill about to win its 6th straight in the series. And they will keep the Black Kettle, which will have a lot of scores on it after this one.
Yeah, the Black Kettle, it makes its home at Fort Hill.
3rd down 1. Hand off again to Smith. Smith's got the first. Powers his way to the 41.
Number 31, Ryan Smith, the ball carrier.
Nice run by Smith that time. Getting to run the ball here this afternoon.
Tackle made by number 74, Tyler Fair.
Series that started in 1986. About to wrap up for the 87th time. And by the way, those 87 meetings include, in
playoff
some
games.
seasons, dual games.
Back-to-back games, yes, sir. And it's happened a lot. In 1994 was the first year that they played back-to-back, and they've been doing it ever since.
Squires back into the lineup and then takes the snap and pops it on the turf.
So in the 1A West, Fort Hill will be ranked number 1. Manchester Valley will be number 4, so 1 will meet 4 here next week.
One more snap and we should wrap up this one. 46-20 score. There's the snap. Squires tosses it back to the official, and the 87th meeting between these two is about to close out. Fans have stayed in the stands throughout the duration. When it got a little bit out of hand, it didn't mean that anybody wearing red or blue left.
No, and that's how it is. I mean, everybody's here for everybody else, and these young men will go out here and shake hands, and you'll see them this evening out getting a pizza at the local pizza shop. So it's just a great thing here in Cumberland. It's been going on for a long time, and I hope it goes on for a long time to come.
46-20 your final score. Fort Hill victorious over Allegany. And we will be back in just a matter of moments to wrap up our coverage. But first, a timeout with a reminder that this series, the 10th anniversary of the Great American Rivalry Series, brought to you by the United States Marines, Hibbett Sports, iHigh Marketing, and more.
There are a few who move toward the sounds of chaos, ready to respond at a moment's notice. And when the time comes, they are the first to move toward the sounds of tyranny, injustice, and despair. They are forged in the crucible of training. They are the few, the proud, the Marines.
On the sideline, down to Rick.
Thank you, Robert. I am here with my boy.
A week of practice and, going to the game, hard-nosed, ready to play.
Well, I'm here with Ty Johnson, most valuable player at this year's Great American Rivalry Series, Allegany versus Fort Hill in Cumberland, Maryland. Back to you, Robert.
Thanks so much, Rick. And you like the humbleness of Ty Johnson. What a guy. 3 touchdowns, big performance today in his junior campaign. He'll be back as a senior. And I got a feeling we'll call out his name frequently a year from now as well. Well, this one is over. It is a victory that belongs to Fort Hill, 15th regular unbeaten season. They will advance to postseason at 5-5. The year wraps up for Allegany. Rick, great working with you. Look forward to another opportunity.
Yes, sir. I appreciate the opportunity to work with you today. I thank Great American Rivals, and I had a great time today.
Final score 46-20. Thanks for watching wherever in the world you may be. We say so long for the Great American Rivalry Series. Robert Williamson for executive producer James Crenshaw in Cumberland, Maryland, wrapping up the 10th anniversary of this, the Great American Rivalry Series, a presentation of the United States Marines.
There are a few who move toward the sounds of chaos, ready to respond at a moment's notice. And when the time comes, they are the first to move toward the sounds of tyranny, injustice, and despair. They are forged in the crucible of training. They are the few, the proud, the Marines.